Hey y'all, James here. This past week saw the release of not one, but two Super Mario games for the Nintendo Switch, a re-release of the Wii U Super Mario 3D World, and something completely brand new, Bowser's Fury. Like many of you, I wasn't exactly sure what this was going to be. From the footage shown, it looked like downloadable content for Super Mario Odyssey that had got lost along the way. Plus, how exactly would this kaiju-sized Bowser factor into things? And his pint-sized paintbrush-wielding son? Well, Bowser's Fury isn't quite Super Mario Odyssey, but neither is it Super Mario 3D World. Rather, it's a blend of these two very different designs that, surprisingly, work out very well. Set in an Odyssey-sized area called Lake Lapcat, this enormous body of water has a number of islands dotted around that are designed like super short Super Mario 3D World levels. Your objective is to collect cat shines on each island. To do so, you might have to complete an obstacle course or a combat encounter. Later cat shines will then layer on some extra challenge. Maybe you have to complete a course while collecting blue coins as fast as possible. Or you need to find a number of shine pieces hidden in and around these 3D islands. Fortunately, unlike Super Mario Odyssey, there are a reasonable number of shines here to collect in Bowser's Fury, and all of them are entertaining. Importantly, you can't complete all these island missions one after another. Sometimes this is because a starting area is so far away, but the intent is to have you explore other islands to break up sitting in one area too long. This is a really great idea, considering that Lake Lapcat itself is somewhat of a consistent biome. Simply, these islands aren't quite the planetoids of Super Mario Galaxy, nor are they the secret challenges of Super Mario Odyssey. They have the strength of 3D World's linear design, but with the open approach of Odyssey. Better yet, getting around Lapcat is made easier thanks to Plessy, a sentient speedboat that makes fun out of fast travel. They'll also be used for a few shines that require you to have mastered their somewhat slippery controls. It's a little like a Super Mario take on The Wind Waker. And the thing is, I think Nintendo were aware of that Zelda influence, considering some of Bowser's Fury's musical stings. The control scheme is also the same as Super Mario 3D World. That means a moveset far more restricted than the one from Super Mario Odyssey. You can jump, run, crouch, and roll, and this is fine for the challenges here. Although I did miss some of the more expressive jumps from the other games. However, Mario's abilities really open up when you use his classic power-ups, which too are taken from 3D World and work exactly the same way as they do there. This change is actually pretty great. For one thing, you can store your power-ups in a bank that you can call up at any time. This means that you never have to go hunting for one you need at a particular moment, and it makes solving many of the platforming challenges much less of a headache too. For example, one required me carrying a key from the highest point of an island back to its base. While I struggled to do this as a normal Mario, being able to pop a Tanuki suit made this job a lot easier. It also helped in some of the game's tougher combat challenges to have a super mushroom on hand to keep Mario's health topped up. Like a Zelda game, it feels like equipping one of Link's many items, such as the paraglider, outside of a dungeon to overcome a challenge, or use a fairy to up his hearts. More so, having that classic visual indicator for Mario's heartiness just looks a lot nicer than 3 abstract pips of health. Even if there's a few places where having a more obvious indication of whether Mario could take another hit would have been useful. Often, finding these power-ups for you is Bowser Jr. He's a nice inclusion, if only for the fact that you can have him deal with enemies and collect coins whilst you focus on the platforming. Sometimes you have to point him towards graffiti to trigger either a new power-up or secret area, but you don't really need him to complete any of the shines, apart from maybe 1 or 2. He's the perfect inclusion for a second player who might want to be more of a passive influence in the game. The biggest change-up, however, to the usual Mario formula is in the title. The King of the Koopas has grown to enormous size, with a giant temper to boot. Every few minutes the world changes, and Bowser's fury awakens. He then does whatever he can to undo your progress by attacking Mario directly. As he does so, island layouts change up by throwing new platforms into the mix, making completing some objectives actually a little easier. Which is good because you'll also need to utilise Bowser's Fury to complete some of the cat shines. This sort of works. There's times where, when you're aiming for 100%, you'll want Bowser's Furies to trigger sooner so you can mop up some of those elusive shines hiding in Fury blocks. But it led to many instances where I stopped what I was doing when I saw that telltale rain and gunned it over to an island with that one last objective to complete and waited for Bowser to burn away the blocks. Bowser's Furies last for about a few minutes, but they can also be stopped whenever you collect a shine. And this can sometimes get a little grating when, again, you're waiting to complete those last few Fury shines and have to wait a few minutes for Bowser to once again reappear. It's actually something that can be remedied through DLC. You can use a Bowser amiibo to both instantly trigger Bowser's Fury and end it early. It's something that I imagine will probably split the speedrunning community around this game. It's a very cool idea though. This entire lake grows out from a central area where Fury Bowser is, meaning that he's an always present threat. While maybe not as threatening as the Blood Moons of Breath of the Wild, it does change the mood of the piece into something more frantic and pressing. The only other Mario game I feel did this idea was the Bubbling Kingdom in Super Mario Odyssey, which had its boss at the centre of the course and all the challenges to undo him surrounding them. But Bowser's Fury makes this idea a lot better by having that boss be a constant threat even before you fight them. Speaking of the boss fights, collecting shines allows you to unlock a Giga Bell at certain points, which lets Mario grow into a kind of Giga Cat Mario. The whole world shrinks around the pair of you like a Katamari level, and these previous obstacle courses now become platforms and cover to use during battle. But it's kind of a shame that these kaiju-sized battles here aren't quite as exciting to play as they are to watch, being quite simple to engage with, and the loading it takes to get to them saps some of their fun. This is probably the first mainline Mario game that can't quite keep up to Nintendo's flawless standards of technical presentation. But visually, and especially audio-wise, everything is top-notch, with some tracks that are even better than the other Mario game that comes with this package. Overall, Bowser's Fury is a far slighter package than the average Mario adventure, but that's to its benefit. There's not a lot of junky collectibles you have to worry about to get to 100% completion, nor did these islands outstay their welcome by going on too long. While I'd love for some of these ideas to be brought forward into future Mario games, especially things like his power-ups and the smaller platforming challenges, I could see how things like Bowser's Furies could become grating in a longer package. Paired up with Super Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury is a must-play for the Switch, especially if you're a fan of any of the 3D Mario games. By splitting its design down the middle, it creates something that becomes the best of both approaches, and it's something that I hope evolves in whatever the next Mario game looks like. Until that happens, let me know what you think of Bowser's Fury in the comments below. Are you a fan of its design? Do you think that maybe they could have gone a little further? Sound off, and I'll see you all in the next upload.